Welcome to Fake Presidents, a real podcast about, well, you know.
Each episode will take a deep dive into a fictional American president from pop culture to see just how much fiction there really is.
We're two former political junkies who do like talking about politics. We just don't like talking about actual, real-life politics.
Because it's just too damn depressing.
I'm Eric Buckman, a former political consultant turned TV writer.
And I'm Ben Oren, a former journalist, sometimes speechwriter, and all-the-time TV producer.
And today, I was going to say we're going to venture into space, but only briefly.
And with not very good special effects.
We're doing 1998's sequel to I believe it was a 1995 hit movie called Species. The sequel was less of a hit, but it had one saving grace: a fake president.
Yeah. And it's called it's Species 2.
Species 2.
It was back when they still just popped on a 2 at the end of the original title. They didn't have any, they didn't put a 2 in the middle of it. They didn't make the S a 2.
It's not Species 2 Battle Across Time.
Yeah.
There's no colons.
No colon, no semicolons.
M dashes. No, this is
The first one was in Species, and then the second one is Species.
Yeah, they did not do any of that. This is a pure sequel. They had a movie that did well enough based on this budget that they said, how much of this can we recreate and how quickly can we do it?
Mm-hmm.
And they got it together pretty quickly, although in doing so, they wholesale ignored the cliffhanger set up at the first movie.
What was the cliffhanger? I didn't even remember the cliffhanger.
Yeah, well, I guess just for anyone out there who has not watched the first one, all you need to know is that it opens very pluribus-like with some radio astronomers here on Earth receiving a signal from deep space. They realize it's an alien signal, and they realize there's some organic DNA type encoding going on in the signal.
Cut to the chase. It's an alien. This alien likes to fuck.
The alien DNA that was received in the signal combined with human DNA created Natasha Henstridge, and her main drive is to procreate. And it's up to Michael Madsen and Marge Helgenberger, and in the first one, I think Forrest Whitaker, to try to stop her from fucking the human race
out of existence. Yeah.
Out of existence. Yeah. And it ends with her dying. And the cliffhanger at the end, the stinger, if you will, is a rat eating a part of her body that wasn't collected by the biohazard team.
Ew.
And then the rat starts to act all alien-like. And we're like, oh yeah, next movie, we got some alien rat hybrid going on.
If you want to see some rat fucking.
My name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
We watched it on Tubi. It's the R-rated version. I'm assuming nothing was cut out.
Nothing was cut. This had the most boobs out of... if you added up all the movies we have watched thus far, I don't think the number of boobies equal the amount of boobies that are in this movie. This is an erotic thriller. It's the mid-90s where you have Basic Instinct and Sliver, and you have all those Sharon Stone erotic thrillers. You have Wild Things, comes out that year.
Yeah.
It's the time of just boobies in movies.
And they took the subtext of, say, a Verhoeven movie and just made it text. You just get the cinematic softcore experience kind of baked into the entire premise.
Oh, if you would have told me this was a Skinamax movie, I would believe you.
That said, the third and fourth movies in the series were straight to Sci-Fi Channel, I believe. So they are very different in terms of what they can or cannot show.
But then the sixth one is a lot of dong.
Well, that's what this was supposed to be. This one, because the first one among the criticisms is that it over-sexualized Natasha Henstridge. The idea here is we'll take a dude, give him the alien DNA, and then watch him go fuck his way through Los Angeles.
Then you're like, oh, it's just rapey at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot of women having their bodies torn apart by his alien DNA immediately after he climaxes.
Yeah.
So that's the movie we're doing. And there's a president in it. Shall we talk about how the president even fits into all that? Does the president do any fucking, Ben?
No, I mean, maybe off screen. It is the 90s.
Yeah.
But should we talk about the people who made this?
Oh, yeah, I guess we could. That makes sense.
This was directed by a man, I'm assuming a man, Peter Medak?
Yes, Peter Medak.
Medak?
I'm going with Medak. He's Hungarian, so obviously.
Looking at his resume, a lot of TV. He's a TV guy. In the 90s, he got a lot of chances to make movies, to make cinema.
Well, in the 80s, he did Zorro the Gay Blade, which was the George Hamilton Zorro movie from 1981. He did The Changeling from 1980.
A movie called The Babysitter. I wonder if it's the same, like the Netflix Babysitter that they had a update on.
This Babysitter stars Patty Duke and William Shatner. But yeah, you're right. A lot of TV, Heart to Heart.
A lot of good TV in the 2000s. He did The Wire, House,
Masters of Horror, Breaking Bad, Hannibal, the TV series. He's actually been associated with some very fine TV series.
He works. It was written by Chris Brancato, who also has a great resume. 90210, The X-Files, True Calling.
Boomtown.
He also did Hannibal. He brought his old buddy in, Medak. He's like, who's going to do this episode? He's like, I got a guy. He's Hungarian, and I think you're going to love him. He created Narcos, Godfather of Harlem. The cast is a fun cast on paper.
Yeah. Returning from the first movie, you have Michael Madsen, R.I.P.
Who you know from probably
A lot of
all the Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah. You got Natasha Henstridge, who from the 1990s was like a real rising star. I remember she was a get if you could get her to like guest on your TV series for a while. She did a lot of TV, such as Commander-in-Chief for 16 episodes.
Let's talk about Marge Hellenberger, who was in the first Species movie. She was also in CSI, OG CSI.
For a long time. I'm going to go ahead and guess that of the cast members, she has the highest net worth. How about that?
Yeah, I'll go with that. More so than Michael T. Williamson, a.k.a.
Bubba.
Bubba. Not Bubba Gump, but
No.
Bubba.
Bubba of the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company, which is a restaurant you can still eat
there's
at
probably
today.
like a lot of people who are like, well, actually, his name was not Bubba Gump. Like, okay, Tom Hanks. We got James Cromwell in it as a U.S. Senator, the father of the astronaut who goes to space and comes back part alien.
Yes.
Which is like a really good get. I mean, at the time, he's coming off Babe.
Coming off Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah.
Where he plays the inventor of the warp drive.
Donnie Warp.
No.
Anybody else we want to talk about in this cast?
I guess we have to mention Justin Lazard.
I guess.
The actor.
He got like an and Justin Lazard in this, which is kind of weird. Because I'm like, who's Justin Lazard? And then you click on his name and you're like, oh, I think he might have exposed himself to somebody at some point, and that's why we don't hear about him anymore. He plays the astronaut.
Get off my plane.
Let's bang out this plot really, really quickly. Is you have a mission to Mars.
Yay.
But not the movie Mission to Mars.
Not at all.
Or the Disneyland, Disney World ride Mission to Mars that the movie was based
they
off
turned
of.
this into a ride. That would be a very naughty ride.
Yeah. It starts with a mission to Mars. I don't like to rag on like dumb things in movies, but to me it was really dumb. They spend months presumably flying out there. They send down one dude for 5 minutes to plant the flag, collect some samples, bring him right back, and then head back for another multi-month trip back to Earth. Anyway, Patrick Ross, son of Senator Ross, so Nepo baby astronaut right off the bat. In fact, we find out later that his dad was basically like the head of the program to send people to Mars. It's like, good choice, dude, for head astronaut there. He gets selected. He makes the first step. He's like the Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin all into one. He gives this nice, cool speech about how this accomplishment is not for any single nation, which he says as he plants the American flag. You know, it's also not for any one creed. He goes through a whole thing at who it's not for. He never says who it is for, you know. And then as he's heading back to Earth, that's when they talk to the president, which we'll get to. He lands on Earth. Unfortunately, he and his astronaut buddies, or at least one of them, have been infected by the alien DNA, and they go on a major, you know, fuck fest through DC until they can wipe out the human race, with the ultimate showdown being having to keep the astronaut dude with his alien DNA from interacting with the clone of Natasha Henstridge's alien hybrid from the first movie, because if they were to hook up,
It'd be a super baby alien. They don't even know. They're guessing at this point.
it'd be really, really, really bad. And so that's what the movie's about. It's about stopping him from having sex.
They didn't want the gatekeeper and the keymaster to get together.
It's kind of what it is. If they hook up, it's the end of everything. And by the way, they do hook up in the movie.
Yeah.
Briefly, you think that things are going to end, that Eve has gone bad, but then Eve does wind up helping the good guys then.
Oh, yeah. They turn into those freaking weird, like, exoskeleton aliens at the end.
I guess we also have to mention the character designs by H.R. Geiger of Alien and Aliens fame.
Yeah.
What more is there to say about the plot, Ben?
That's it. We nailed it. They have to bring in the people who stopped her the first time to stop this dude. That's it.
Yeah. Minus Forrest Whitaker, who I guess was too busy.
Minus Forrest Whitaker, adding Bubba.
Yeah.
And the reason Bubba isn't infected, he was up there, and the 2 other people got infected with the alien DNA, is because alien DNA is racist.
Racist against sickle cell anemia.
Yes.
But yeah, so once they discover that Michael T. Wilkinson's character was immune to the effects of the alien DNA because he himself had a flawed human DNA.
It wasn't even that. It was that the alien DNA wanted nothing to do with it. And they establish that again when he gets near Natasha Henstridge, and she's like, ugh. But yeah, so that's like the movie.
We forgot to talk about the cast member playing the presidents mixed in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have it's a good actor playing it. Richard Belzer is playing the president.
That's why I wanted to do this one, Ben. I'm like, when else are we going to get a chance to talk about Belzer?
Never. And the fun thing about Belzer's stories is that it's always like, and he was completely coked up. Those are all like the Richard Belzer stories. He was coked up, and he kind of comes across slightly coked up. He appears to be Richard Belzer from the Homicide, Life on the Street, from the Law and Order universe. He seems to be that guy. He's wearing his glasses. Isn't he wearing his glasses?
Okay, so here's the thing about Richard Belzer. You know, little background on this dude. He starts off as a stand-up comedian.
Yep.
Who has bit parts on TV. In fact, I think his first TV appearances are on like SNL as himself doing stand-up.
Belzer also did a lot of talk shows. In fact, he got choked out by Hulk Hogan on the air on Letterman or on one of those shows. Because he was like, wrestling's fake, and Hulk did not take that very well.
You think their common love for cocaine would have given him something to bond over?
Yeah, maybe that's how he actually passed out, is that Hulk had like a whole bunch of coke in the crevice of his elbow. And Belzer was like, he passed out. He sued him. He sued him for $5 million. Did
he win?
He got about 400.
400,000?
But this was like 30 years. Yeah, 400,000 like 35
Belzer
years
got
ago.
400 grand
from Hulk Hogan.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Wow.
From at the time, not quite Hollywood Hulk Hogan yet. He was regular. He was good guy Hulk Hogan, but still a complete dirtbag. But Belzer became like a legit actor.
Legit actor. He was in Homicide, Life on the Street. That was the Barry Levinson executive produced NBC procedural. A procedural that was definitely a predecessor to The Wire. And his character was then plucked from Homicide, which did not last very long, and stuck onto Law and Order SVU. Same character, same actor, which of course gets me wondering who's getting all the character payments.
That's the best.
For those not in the know, I don't know how this works in today's modern era of television, but for the longest time in network TV, if you create a character and then that character gets reused in future episodes of your show or any other show, you get a character payment for that. The exception is if you're in the pilot, then it doesn't count.
Correct.
As a recurring character.
Which is why that's the amazing thing about Cheers, is that Norm was not in the pilot. So whoever wrote the second episode of Cheers got a character payment for Norm for about 10 years. 10 years of TV. It's amazing.
And by the way, this guy, we're not talking about just within the Law and Order universe. Yes, he did appear and become a regular on Law & Order SVU, but he was in the other Law & Orders. He was on The X-Files. Same character, John Munch. On The Wire, which we mentioned. Same character, John Munch. And then it gets a little shaky after that. He'll be on 30 Rock, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, where they're calling him John Munch, but he's really Belzer as Munch. I don't. He appeared on a UPN cop show called The Beat, Arrested Development. Ben, if you'd have a plane to catch, I could keep going.
Look, he could easily have been President John Munch.
For all we know, in fact,
for all we know, there's no reason for us to not think that.
Yeah, but he's a colorful character in his own real life. Why I wanted to cover him is because of his personal beliefs. He is a massive conspiracy theorist.
Oh, it's like he believes in alien, that there is an alien out there.
He's written
fucking
books
his
on
wife.
the subject. The first book he wrote, UFOs, JFK, and Elvis. Conspiracies you don't have to be crazy to believe. He's also written Dead Wrong, Straight Facts about the country's most controversial cover-ups. Hit List, an in-depth investigation into the mysterious deaths of witnesses to the JFK assassination. Corporate Conspiracies, how Wall Street took over Washington. Okay, that's not a conspiracy. Someone is hiding something. What happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight 370?
He wrote a book about it?
Yeah.
He also wrote a book called If I Die on February 19th, 2023, You Know Who Did It. And you know when he died? February 19th, 2023.
Wow, that's crazy. I will say that in 2008, he did publish a fictional novel called I Am Not a Cop! Exclamation point, about a fictional version of himself who winds up investigating a murder. But anyway, I thought that his personal beliefs might color the character of the president here, since maybe that's why he was selected to play this president. We'll see. We'll talk about it.
This is a presidential favor.
How does he fit into the plot? As far as I could tell, he appears just once. Did you see any?
Only once.
Yeah, nothing in the background, nothing news stories.
Even his face didn't even appear on a photo in the office of the U.S. Senator. There's a photo of Bill Clinton in there, and he worked for JFK. Never references President Munch.
Now, he didn't work for JFK. He just mentioned he's a staffer on the Hill.
Okay.
When Kennedy made his big speech. I was trying to figure out the party politics involved here. So I was like, oh, did this guy work for JFK or he could have been working for a Republican at the time? And they left it just vague enough. Cromwell, that is. Cromwell in real life, definitely not a hardcore conservative by any stretch.
He's very close to probably the character he played in Succession.
Oh, yeah, that's actually probably close to that.
Our president, he video chats with the Mars crew after Lazard makes his way back to the spaceship.
A tremendous achievement that once again proves that if we can rise above partisan politics, America can climb to the heavens.
Thank you, Mr. President. Credit goes to my crew.
Fly home safe, son. Our prayers are with you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
He looks like he literally came, though, from, like, the Law & Order set.
It could have been done on the Law & Order set.
Yeah,
because
they're like, can you please just record this for us?
It's also filmed very low res. It only appears on a TV screen. At no point was this guy ever, like, on the main stages with the main camera crew involved in Species 2. If this was a COVID movie, you'd be thinking that this was done in his own, like, house just as a favor and just sent in.
That's the president. What else do you think we know about this guy?
So the reason why I want to talk about him is because of his personal choices. I had to think that it was very intentional on behalf of the filmmakers to pick Richard Belzer to play the president. Remember, this was made in 1998. We are in the midst of Clinton scandal after Clinton scandal.
Well, I mean, it came out in 98, so they made it in 97.
Well,
The big scandal was in 98.
that's the only scandal you remember from the 90s?
That was the key one. All the Monica stuff came out in
The
98.
Vince Foster stuff. Also, remember, this is also a time when you had Republican Speaker of the House after Republican Speaker of the House get fired and or removed from office for bad behavior. It was a hyper, like by today's standards, it's par for the course. But back then, it was like hyper partisan, hyper political. You had a government shutdown for an extended period of time. So you had Rush Limbaugh on the radio, and then you had Newt Gingrich weaponizing C-SPAN in an interesting way, which I don't think we ever talked about here. Have we talked about what Newt Gingrich's big thing was?
Well, it was weaponizing C-SPAN.
Yeah, like he basically realized there's...
I like how you passed it off where it's like, yeah, Ben knows that.
Well, no, okay. So, but the thing is he realized, there's a camera pretty much on there 24/7. That if you walk up to it and start talking, you'll be recorded and broadcast. And because of the view of the camera, no one knows who you're talking to. Nobody knows how empty that chamber actually is when you're talking. And so he realized that it didn't matter if no one was there. He would go there, say the speeches, demonize Clinton and whatnot.
It's a very Billy. Was it Billy Madison? I have the microphone and you don't. No,
Yeah.
it's a wedding singer. I have the microphone and you don't, so you'll listen to every single word I got to say.
And then, of course, Fox News rise, soon thereafter, 95, 96-ish? As I was saying, I think they chose Belzer for a purpose. I think it's because he does have these conspiratorial beliefs that he's famous for, that they went with a U.S. president for whom these conspiracies are true. Alien conspiracies, assassination conspiracies, missing airline conspiracies. I do think that was an intentional choice, because otherwise I don't know how this guy gets elected, because I love Belzer. I think he's very entertaining. He is not charismatic in the way that a politician needs to be charismatic.
Yeah, I think so. I think he sounds gives a little bit of a Reagan cadence to it.
He does a Reagan thing. He's very Bob Doley, I'll say.
You climb to the heavens, it's talking about unity, but also at the same time, I mean, we have to assume that he authorized the torture of this Eve clone.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
Because they raise Eve, and they're trying to figure out how to beat these aliens the next time they show up.
After the events of the first movie, they realize we're not well defended. We need to figure out their weaknesses. So they clone the first alien to make the second alien. And the second alien is really just now being used as a whoopee cushion. No, pin cushion. Wrong cushion.
Maybe that could be one of the things that they're testing. They're like, what if the only way to beat these aliens is by placing them under a chair and then waiting for somebody to sit on them? You need to come up with many ideas, bad ideas, until you find the good one.
And they just stopped at some of the bad ideas. Didn't keep going. You're right. The president probably is fully aware of that program and has authorized it and is getting updates on it. Now, was this the president's from the first movie when the signal was first received and it winds up unleashing terror on the streets of America?
It's hard to say, right? Because we live in a world where Bill Clinton was the president here at some point.
You're right, because he's on that photo.
Yeah.
So maybe Clinton was the president in the first movie, doesn't get reelected because of...
He's waiting. He heard this sexy alien was making her way through the United States, and Bill was just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to wait in the Oval Office, wait for this alien. Hoo boy. He's got his cigar ready to go.
But that is maybe what primed America into wanting to elect somebody who can now be proven right about all their alien conspiracies. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah. This Belzer guy's onto something. Sounds like, Ben, you were thinking that maybe because he's identified as a cop, that might have led to his being cast as maybe a cop turned president.
I'm not going that direction. I think he was just like, we need somebody. And anytime there's like a cameo and they appear like on a different screen, not on the same stage as all the other actors. I'm like, oh, this is a favor, and they only had him on this day for this amount of time. He's not even in the Oval Office. He's in the DA's office. Yeah,
it definitely feels like one of those things where like they filmed everything, and the last thing missing was who's going to be the president.
100% that's what happened.
You're right. He is a little Reagan-y. He is definitely invoking God and religion on their journey back.
Even after, I mean, the fact that Lazard on Mars, like you said, was saying this is something for everybody. President like, nope, this is for America. We're climbing to the heavens.
We know that Patrick's dad was a senator, or is. Do we think this guy came up through the legislature? Maybe he and the dad and Cromwell were buddies in the Senate, or he had a different
I'm gonna go with governor of New Jersey.
Interesting. Okay, I can kind of see. I can definitely see him.
He's wearing his. I don't even know if in the movie he's wearing his dark glasses. I'm just always assuming Belzer's wearing his dark glasses. He doesn't give a shit what the role is. He's wearing his dark glasses, ill-fitting suit.
Jersey or any state small enough that most people voting for governor might not even know what the governor looks like, which by the mid-90s could still be happening.
Yeah.
So you're thinking party-wise, sounds like you're actually leaning towards Republican then.
I am leaning towards Republican on this one.
Well, if you're right that Clinton was the president in the first movie, then that would mean that for him to be defeated in short order by anyone else from to be a different party, most likely.
Yeah, the one reason I would go towards him being a Democrat would be because of this NASA mission, because I associate the space program more so with Democrats than Republicans, even though in 69, it was Nixon was the president at the time.
And that's Nixon's name is on the moon, on the plaque that was left behind.
But it was Kennedy who got that sucker going, got everybody excited about it. But I could see in the 90s Republicans calling something like this government waste.
Okay. We don't talk about current politics. I'm biting my lip. Don't talk about current politics. I'll just say my take is very different from yours. I put NASA into like it's almost existing outside of politics for the greater portion of its run, where regardless of if you're a Democrat or Republican, NASA, space exploration, it's something America excels at. We technically won the space race. And because the benefits of it, at least job-wise, are spread out so much around the country that it's pretty neutral. There's no one party that can really lay claim to NASA. And in fact, when it comes to criticizing it, when I picture the stereotype of the person who's standing outside of NASA with or a launch site holding a banner saying Earth first, what about us? I'm picturing a hippie liberal. I'm not picturing an America firster doing that. And also, let's not forget how much of the space program comes from, or is in bed with the military industrial complex and so forth. So, I mean, that's a lot of the reasons that's why. And the reason why I say I don't want to talk current politics is because, I mean, none of that's true anymore. That NASA's been as politicized as anything else to the detriment of
space
or our own country, our own ability to, what's the point of going up if you can't look back down? And yet that's basically what we're telling our astronauts to do. You can go up, maybe, but don't you dare measure the Earth's atmosphere. Don't you dare look for signs of the Earth's carbon footprint increasing in any dangerous ways. Don't you dare try to explore life elsewhere, just scientifically try to understand the beginnings of our universe and where we came from and where we might be going, because none of that has any direct benefit to certain, let's just say, billionaires who are more interested in how they can monetize the more immediate realm of space around Earth. Anyway, I'm not talking about all that. I'm not going to talk about that, Ben.
No.
But you're right. This is definitely a NASA that you might think was Democratic leaning. I'm going to say it's a NASA that was bipartisan enough back in the 90s that I don't think it plays into the party of the president at all. Cromwell probably comes across as like a Southern Democrat, an LBJ type, which back in the 90s still existed.
At the same time, we could also look at him as a Bush type.
You can, but that's what's cool about the 1990s, Ben, is the same state.
There's a lot that was cool about the 1990s, Eric. Is that when we cut to our video of us? Dad, what were you like in the 90s? I'd give up forever to touch you. Have you been following that meme?
No.
No? Aren't you on Insta? The whole thing was like for all these 90s teen idols were doing these things where it's like you show them now and the caption is like, Dad, what were you like in the 90s? And it shows them looking fucking cool as shit in the 90s. And so it was like everybody, the cast of 90210 and da-da-da, we're all doing it. And then it became like a joke on a joke where people were,
but what I was saying about what's cool about the 90s is, you had Governor George W. Bush, who would go on to be president. You also had Texas Governor Ann Richards, who is the one who coined the phrase that George W. Bush was born on third base and thinks he hit a triple.
The last, she was the last Democrat governor of Texas.
Yes, but in the 90s.
Early 90s.
Same thing in Florida, too. Before Jeb Bush, you had Governor Lawton Chiles. Actually, he died in office, and technically the lieutenant governor was then governor for like 2 months before Jeb Bush took office. But you had Democratic governors in states that now you can't imagine that ever happening. But this is the 90s when this was made. So what's interesting is the fact that they're referencing political partisanship. By today's standards, it's nothing. But still, what's interesting to me about the 90s is the fact that I totally forgot where I was going, Ben.
We're talking George Bush, that there was a bushiness to Cromwell.
Oh, yeah, bushiness to Cromwell, also in Richards-ish. I was just trying to say that, yes, he comes across as a Texas politician, but that doesn't necessarily mean, at this point, Republican. The end.
How dare you come into this office and bark at me like some little junkyard dog? I am the President of the United States.
Okay, so quick wrap up. Party, you're thinking Republican. I'm saying Democrats. Yep. You're saying governor of New Jersey. I'm saying governor of a smaller state.
People are dying in gruesome ways all around the D.C. metro area. There's stuff going on off near military bases. Do you think people are picking up on what's going on? Is the local news catching any of this? That I mean, they're catching on to the fact we see on the local news that sex workers are dying. They think there could be a serial killer. Do you think people are finding out about this?
Interesting.
Or have any idea that this is going on in this world?
So I can see something here going on with Cromwell, a senator, maybe a tough on crime senator, going on TV and talking about all these horrible crimes being committed in the DC area and using that as an excuse. The reason why
To send in the
we
National
need
Guard?
to federalize DC. We need to send a National Guard. We need to get to the bottom of what's going on. It could be illegal immigrants. It could be Antifa. Meanwhile, it's his fucking son. Literally, his fucking son.
But by the way, how is there not a pho place called Anti-Pho? How that's like the most natural name for a pho place.
Yeah.
Anti-Pho? AUNTIE pho.
PHO, just so we get the spelling right. Because
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a soup. It's a soup place. You go there for delicious Vietnamese
To our
soup.
listeners who maybe not be
Antifa.
well, to people who may not be familiar to proper pronunciation of PHO in terms of food, it looks like pho, but it's pronounced pho.
Yes, because a lot of other like witty places, there's like 9021 pho or pho yo face, pho yo mouth. It's like, no, that's offensive. It should be called Antifa.
Motherfucker, I'm not asking if you're interested. I'm the president of the United fucking States, man.
What do the people of America think of this president? He's got to be pulling pretty high. He sent people to Mars.
Yes, they must be happy. He's going to get high approval ratings off of the whole first man on Mars thing. American victory, American excellence.
I think these are very high poll numbers for President Munch. It's probably polling like 65, 70%. Like war numbers. I think he's getting like war approval ratings.
How long does that last, though?
Well, until like all these dead hooker bodies pop up.
Well, not just dead hooker bodies. Eventually, you're going to have a dead hero astronaut, too. They have to explain that away.
I think they'll have they'll probably be a really good cover up. Because also, they covered up everything that happened in Species 1. It's not as if everybody's like, oh, we have this clone in this top secret facility. People don't know that.
Or do they?
They covered that up.
But I will say that this president is pretty popular up until the very end. And as soon as the dead body turns up of Patrick Ross, hero astronaut, it's very hard to keep the conspiracies at bay.
Well, I think they'll start seeing. It'll be an interesting thing with DEI following this, because what they've learned is that if you send people with sickle cell anemia into space, they won't come back as killer aliens. Yeah. So we'll start sending shuttles of just black astronauts into maybe also some more Jewish astronauts as well. We've got our own group of diseases that aliens won't be into. Yeah. And so blacks and Jews in space, traveling to Mars and beyond, because aliens don't want to infect us.
So what you're saying, Ben, if you're on the list of people who have to get special tests before they get married to members of their own religion and or race, then you might actually be eligible to be a NASA astronaut.
Correct. And that if just because your daddy is a senator doesn't mean you get fast-tracked anymore.
How? Because I'm the goddamn president of the United States of America.
Ultimately, what do you think it says about the late 90s?
I would love to say that both these movies are like an AIDS parable. I don't think so. I think definitely by the time the second movie came out, I think we saw a resurgence in sexual freedom in the 90s following its repression in the 80s, largely due to AIDS and AIDS-like concerns. I would love to say that this movie is kind of a weird fusion of two Tom Hanks movies, Apollo 13 and Philadelphia, but it's not.
I was going to say Splash.
Volunteers, the one with John Candy, where they... No.
And Toy Story. Toy Story wasn't a parable about AIDS?
Yeah, but no, I don't think that's on anyone's mind, making this. I don't think it's a cautionary tale to avoid having sex with total strangers in the bathroom bar. I don't think there's any pro-life message or anti-life message.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does it say about the 90s? I think it says that the 90s was still a time when you could put boobs on a screen and have it be a selling point, when an R-rated, movie actually meant something different from PG-13 substantially, whereas now the real difference is maybe amount of blood, the way the way violence is kind of handled, but like movies today, even movies that come from a genre where sex and violence are typically intertwined, like slasher horror genre. Like, I mean, the whole premise of every 80s slasher film was a virgin gets saved and anyone who has premarital sex does not. And that premarital sex is usually portrayed on screen in some way involving boobies, as you've mentioned. I mean, you're the one talking about boobies, Ben, not me. I'm not talking about, no.
I mean, I'm bringing up boobies. I'm not like talking about boobies. I'm bringing up boobies because boobies are in the movie.
But yeah, so I think as a filmmaking artifact, I think it says a lot about the 90s. It's very emblematic of where the 90s was going, or at least what you could still do. And as you mentioned before, the pitch here is basically like, what if you do Aliens, but the alien is Sharon Stone? I mean, that's basically it. Basic Instinct meets Alien. I was going to say E.T., but that's a very different movie.
Yeah. Maybe E.T. 2. They never released that one. Belzer did write a book about E.T. 2 and why the government's trying to keep it from us.
Oh, yeah.
Because it tells the truth about aliens. That E.T. nest? Come on.
I mean, he does have the finger dick.
And this has been Fake Presidents.
This has been Fake Presidents. I've been Eric Buckman.
I've been Ben Oren.
Find us on the social medias, fake_presidents, or email us at fakepresidents@gmail.com.
Yeah, the music you're hearing right now is made by Johnny Sadoff. The artwork you have seen through all these years was made by Anna Hecker.
Feel free to reach out, especially if there's other movies with very unlikely presidents that are not even on our radar that you think we need to be watching.
Yeah, every time I think we're finished doing this thing, a new fake president pops up out of nowhere.
We should do a musical president, fake president. We haven't done one yet.
They should write one so we could do
There
it.
has to be a musical sequence somewhere.
There's a musical real president in Annie.
Oh yeah, that's Roosevelt, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, a lot of real presidents in Hamilton. 1776, real presidents.
They're not presidents yet. They're not presidents.
You're right. They're not in 1776. In Hamilton, they were. You're right. So, if you know of any fake president musicals out there, please let us know. Because we're bored.
We'll watch them.
We'll do something. Okay, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all in May. Bye. Speaking of stuff we cut out, Ben, here's a segment we're going to cut out. Eric once again complains about ChatGPT. You mentioned George Wendt, or you mentioned Norm.
Yeah.
Because of being in a rush to prep for this episode, I was like, you know what? Fine, fuck it. I'll open up ChatGPT and see what kind of notes it can help me prepare for this. So I'm now going to text you the prompt I wrote in, and then you can read out loud to the mic the first line that ChatGPT responded with.
Tell me about the character of the president in Species 2.
That's the prompt. And the answer?
In the 1998 sci-fi horror movie Species 2, the U.S. president is a very minor, mostly background character rather than a central figure. That's correct. That's right. Who plays a president? The role is portrayed by George Wendt, best known for his comedic work on Cheers. His appearance here is brief and somewhat unexpected given his usual roles. I think the weird thing, though, is that what are the odds of us even talking about Cheers on this episode for me to bring it up unprompted, yet in your prompt to ChatGPT, it comes up. That's crazy. This is a conspiracy. And the weirdest thing is that Richard Belzer wrote a book about this.